Hello friends, and welcome to a very sunny morning here in North Carolina. We are going to be adding some beautiful perennial grasses to the garden. Now I know that it is mid towards late July and you're like, woman, what are you doing? Why are you adding plants to the garden this time of year? Well, there are certain plants that do really well when they are added to that hot summer garden, and these perennial grasses are one of those. I want to get their roots really nice and established before the winter hits. So we are going to add those and do maybe just a little bit of maintenance here in the garden. I've got a rose that needs to be pruned and fertilized. I've got some lavender that needs to be pruned. I found some ginormous weeds that had been hiding and are not hiding any longer. So we're just going to kind of spend a nice quick morning here in the garden getting some stuff done before the heat of the day hits. So let's talk about these beautiful grasses. I have got 4 of them right here on my bench because we're going to be adding them right around this space. So the grass that we are adding is a native grass. It is the Prairie Winds Brushstrokes. And so Brushstrokes is an absolutely fabulous Schizachyrium. It is going to be in that 3 foot tall, about 2 foot wide. It has beautiful, nice blue foliage to it. And what's fun is that Brushstrokes will turn this lovely reddish color in the fall, so you get great interest during the summer, and then you have fantastic red fall interest as well. Now, Brushstrokes, that Schizachyrium, is a native grass, and so it is going to be very upright. It'll sway in the wind. That's why we love those perennial grasses, or any kind of grasses in the garden for that fact. But having that nice upright kind of habit to it, that blue-green foliage. I don't have grasses on this part of the garden. I do have a couple of the Cheyenne Sky, so that'll kind of tie it in. But your Brushstrokes, they're great for if you have an area that needs like some erosion control. They don't need a ton of water, so that's great. So if you have that hot kind of dry area, this is a great option for you. It is hardy in zones 3 to 9, very adaptable. It does need the sun though, right? So it needs that full to part sun. I would say no less than 5 hours of sun for that because you want to have that nice, beautiful foliage color and then that upright habit. If you have less, it might get a little floppy. So that's just something to think about. Now, of course, what we're going to do is I'm going to be adding it right around this bench. So kind of maybe a little bit to the side and behind the bench. I have my 7-inch auger that I will be using. So that's that Jenny's Edition. That 7-inch auger has that heavy duty tip because heaven knows I will need it in this area. And then of course the biotone. So we will use the biotone starter fertilizer in here as well. It is nice and pretty and mulched, and there is drip irrigation in here. So what I will have to do is kind of pull everything back, make sure I'm not going to plant right on top of an irrigation line, and get them in the ground. Quickly, let me show you, we're also going to go ahead and trim. This is the Julia Rose. It is a standard form, as you can see, so it's in that tree form, and she has had a beautiful flush of flowers. You can see that she is ready to be deadheaded, so we're going to go ahead and deadhead her, trim her back a little bit, and fertilize her with some rose tone. So I will show you how to take care of your roses here in the midsummer. And then last but not least, we're going to head over here to the phenomenal lavender. So she has been phenomenal. She is great, but she is done blooming. So we're going to trim her up some, show you how to do that, make her neat and tidy, take any kind of stress off of the plant, and keep it super simple. And then, like I said, there's a couple of ginormous weeds that are growing in my doozies, so we will take care of that as well. First things first, let's go ahead and get these Brushstrokes in the ground. right, my friends. First of all, this sun is no joke. Dear heavens, it's not even 8:30 in the morning and Jenny is glistening for sure. But that's all right, because you know what? These brushstrokes are absolutely thriving in this summer heat of July. So now, okay, envision it, right? The grasses are going to be 3 feet tall, nice and upright, 2 feet wide. So basically I planted them nice and even, so I try to make sure that they're even on each sides of the bench, and then they are 2 feet apart from one another, and plenty of room from the bench. Worst case scenario, I scoot the bench forward a little bit. You know, if they absolutely like take off and thrive, not a big deal. I can scooch the bench forward a little bit. But very excited to see these brushstrokes as they grow and develop in here. And just making sure, of course, that try to make it as neat and tidy as possible, so it really doesn't look like they were just planted. I hate seeing on a pretty mulch bed and then planting something and then you see all of like the red clay showing. So that's why I really like to scooch back the mulch a lot, dig my hole very carefully with that auger, biotone, plop them in, pack them in nice and tight with that native red clay soil, and then bring the mulch back. So there we go. 4 brushstrokes in the ground, and they really should absolutely take off, because I've had them sitting in their pots by the garage for not quite 2 weeks yet, and they have already grown quite well since then, because the heat has gone up and they love it. So now what we're going to do is we're going to turn our attention to the rose. I'm going to set the camera up and show you exactly how I'm going to do it to bring it back some, take some of that growth off, get it deadheaded, fertilize it. That way I get beautiful flush of flowers again this late summer, early fall. Okay, my friends, so what we're going to do is we are going to deadhead and prune, all kind of the same thing, this Julia Child rose. Roses bloom on new growth. She had beautiful blooms on her, but it is time to bring her down and fertilize her, so that way we get beautiful flowers in this late summer into early fall. Now, if you want to be super particular, I tend not to be on my roses. What you're going to want to do is come down above where you have 5 leaves, and that you can then cut there. But basically what we're going to do is just about every stem on this rose I'm going to touch. I've got my Felco 2s, going to bring it back. Now, sometimes she gets a little covered up in some black spot. We are in the south. We have lots of heat and humidity here, and so black spot is very prominent in our roses. If I were more attentive, then I could have been applying the fungicide early on in the season, but let's just be honest, I didn't do it, therefore I've got some black spot. So if you have black spot, once you get it, you can't necessarily make it go away for that season. You just can go ahead and remove any leaves that are affected, throw them away, don't compost them, and then just go for it the next year and try to go ahead and be preventative. So prevention is key on your black spot. But we're just going to come through here. She's going to look quite naked when we're done. She was a little bit of a lopsided rose to begin with. This is one, we call this Emily's rose, because she was the one that decided to rescue it from the nursery several years ago, and so this is her rose. But as you can see, I'm taking a good little bit of it off, because she is a very vigorous grower, and I want to make sure that she stays nice and tight and compact and doesn't get too wild and woolly on me, and so that is why I'm taking a good little bit off. So I'm just going to keep pruning her, and then I'll meet you back here and we'll talk about fertilizer. right, my friends, so she's pruned. I kind of attached her to the stake. So what we're going to do is we are going to pull back this mulch, and I am using Rose Tone from Espoma. You can certainly use whatever your favorite slow release fertilizer specifically for roses is, and go for it on that. Now, whatever one you are using, obviously you want to follow their instructions on how to use their fertilizer, because it can vary depending on the brand and their recipe for their fertilizer. So Espoma says to basically feed once a month from the beginning of the growing season to the middle of September. And for an established plant, you're going to do 1.25 cups. Now, if you are a person who likes to be extremely specific and particular, then go ahead and get your measuring cup. I would suggest maybe go ahead and get like a plastic cup that you can use just for your fertilizer. And then we're going to sprinkle it around. So you can see that it is around the base. And then I'm just going to come in, make a claw with my hand, and I'm going to zhuzh it, right? So we're just slightly breaking up the soil so that this fertilizer can get down in there. Of course, that way when it rains, it will begin to release, go down to the roots for your rose, and give you beautiful growth, beautiful flowers, because roses are pretty heavy feeders. They've got to have a good bit of food to produce all of those beautiful flowers that we love. And then of course we're bringing back the mulch so that you would never know that we are here. It rains, your irrigation comes on, boom, she gets fed. So as easy as that. If you can do it once a month, amazing, do it. If not, do it when you remember, friends. There is grace in gardening. One last little thing to do this morning. We're gonna go head over there and clean up the lavender. Y'all, super easy, but it'll make a huge difference on how the plant responds and how it looks. So let's go do that right quick. All right, my friends, so lavender. Doesn't matter which lavender you have. This happens to be Phenomenal, which does really well here in the South with our heat and humidity. This is one plant. It's been here for a couple of years, and she is finished blooming. So she is all done now. She still has, like, you can just smell her a bit. Lovely. So what we're going to do is we're going to take back these old blooms. Now, if you want to, you absolutely could go ahead and save these. You could dry them because they still have that beautiful fragrance to them. So if you want to save them and dry them, make potpourri, whatever you want to do, you absolutely can do that with your Phenomenal. Do not overthink this, my friends. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to come in here and we're going to take back those blooms, okay, those old stalks, and we're going to bring it back so that we have the quote mother plant, the nice big thick perennial, not quote shrub, but you know what I mean. It looks like a shrub. She's big enough. And we're just going to take her back. So take all this top off and clean it up. That way we can have energy going back into the roots and have nice strong roots instead of it trying to support these old blooms here. All right, my friends, today's project is complete. It feels good to get some nitpicky things done here in the backyard garden. Of course, there's always things to do in the garden, right? And I would love to keep on going, but I have another project that I have to get attended to, so I'll come back on another day. But yeah, getting that Phenomenal lavender, get her pruned back nice and neat and tidy. That way too, it allows this Coreopsis to go ahead and do her thing, because she was starting to get a little overrun right here with the Phenomenal because it was starting to kind of get floppy on me. Went ahead also, this is Scentlandia here in the back, which is a great native shrub, but she is extremely vigorous. Very vigorous and beautiful, nice, really rich burgundy foliage in the fall. does those beautiful coarse white plumes in the spring. You've got green this time of year, like I said, in the fall, really rich burgundy that the leaves turn, and they hold that color for a long time. But they were just getting a little too wild and woolly on me, so I just kind of topped them off a little bit, just kind of keeping them under control. Don't want you to really see that I pruned them, but if you have Scentlandia and you need to get it, you know, kind of cleaned up a little bit, don't be afraid, of course, to go ahead and do that. Then Miss Julia Child down there, she is looking nice and tight and compact, fertilized, and the Brushstrokes are in the ground as well. So there you go, my friends. If you can get out in the garden, the earlier the better for sure in July. I had the best of intentions, but as you parents know, one thing leads to another. You get out here when you can, my friends. Do a little sweating. It's good. It's good for you. Opens up the pores. It's fine, just gotta stay hydrated. But if you have found this fun, informative, inspirational, we would love it if you would like and subscribe to Gardening with Creekside. That way you don't miss those 5 videos that we do each and every week. Y'all have an amazing day. We'll see you in the next video. Bye, friends.